We're all doing very, very well this morning. Lots to talk about, of course, as we dive into the latest Manchester United news. We're going to be talking about Ten Hag's Bruno rant. We're also going to be talking about Marcus Rashford being backed by Wayne Rooney. Stu says we're going to get stuffed by Man City on Sunday. Just don't go to work, Stu. What's the point? Don't wash the pots. Just stay in bed, you miserable shit. We're here to talk about Manchester United. We're here to be positive. I hope you're doing well. I might even give you a little bit of a tour of the setup here today. I'm filming the podcast, Goldbridge Saves Football, and I got here a bit early, so I thought, why not do the show here? And I will show you my new addition to the pub as well. You can rank the beer out of 10. That's probably the best news we've got for you this morning. You can rank the beer out of 10 on that. But yeah, hope we're all doing very well. Let me just knock that down a little bit because my screen's a little bit different to yours. That's better. That looks better. You can see the top of the laptop now. That looks worse. Let's go back. Okay, let's start off with the news. We're here to talk about Man United. Erik Ten Hag has basically come out and ranted. He's described the social media criticism as pathetic. Well, I may as well leave like Stu. What's the point? I'm out of here. So we're pathetic, apparently. We're pathetic. Up the Ten Hag inners, Marky, says Trey. But I don't think he's really talking about United fans. And that's a dangerous thing to do when you have a Ten Hag out movement, to start calling social media pathetic. Social media is the media. Social media rules the footballing world. Whether you like it or not, it ain't the mainstream media. It's the social media that rules the world. So to call criticism on social media pathetic isolates you, Eric. You need to be cleverer than that. What he actually meant is, and I haven't spoken to him about it, but what he actually meant was, some of the hate on social media is pathetic, because it is. It is. I mean, I think Bruno Fernandes is a player that I really like at Manchester United, but there are two home truths here. I really like Bruno Fernandes, but there are two home truths. One of them is that he is not playing particularly well at the moment, and I refute and disagree with anybody's assessment, whether it's, Statman Dave or whatever. He's got a living to make. He's got stats to write about. I respect that. But you can't put a tweet out saying he made the most passes, he made the most tackles, he created the most chances when he didn't play well. Nobody yesterday gave him a 10 out of 10 performance. Nobody even gave him a 7. It was an average performance. And I think that therefore, there's an honest conversation to be had about that. Some people are criticising the fact that I've got two Argentinians behind me. Let's move over here where you can see, look, there you go. Not the Scampi fries. We've got the Beckham there. And look, there you go. We've got a new beer tap in as well. What do you think about that? Doesn't work. But yeah, I think I might just stay here for a minute. But I think with Bruno Fernandes, look, I agree with Ten Hag. Basically, what happened is Bruno Fernandes had a bad injury yesterday. Apparently, it was a serious injury. Apparently, he was hobbling after the game. That doesn't surprise me, and I'm not in any way taking a pop at Bruno for that. He's a fantastic player, and I would expect him to play for Manchester United, whether he's hobbling around or not. He's a massively important player for Manchester United, but he's not playing well. And that's not pathetic. What's pathetic is when you see people calling him rat boy, or people saying he's a disgrace, or sell him or something like that. That's not criticism. That's not constructive. That's unfair. And I don't stand by that, and I'm sure you don't as well. What I want to see is Bruno Fernandes playing well, and I'm confused by the fact as to why he isn't playing well at the moment. That's my biggest issue. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a big fan of Bruno Fernandes and always have been. But it's not pathetic to criticise him. What I would say is, I think Erik Ten Hag is talking about the criticism that Bruno Fernandes is receiving on a regular level from people who are, just sort of giving up on him, I suppose. And I completely agree that that's unfair. But what I will say is, effort's never just enough, is it? Effort. You can't just say he played with an injury, he's a legend of this football club. As Mr. A says, he's burnt out, but he's not playing well. I mean, you've got to keep picking him. I don't think he's a player that you keep dropping, but Not at the moment, anyway. But you have got to keep picking him because there's nobody else. But I think what Erik ten Hag has done last night is very, very clever, and I actually quite like it. I don't take it personally. I'm on social media. We're all on social media. Match-going fans are on social media. Journalists are on social media. I mean, look, if a journalist's not on social media, they may as well retire and die. I mean, not in a human level, but I mean, like in a career level, they may as well just retire and have a goodbye party and get replaced by somebody who is on social media, because that's the world we live in. So I don't think Ten Hag is saying all social media is pathetic. I think he's just saying some of the criticism that Bruno gets is pathetic, and that's fine. But the positive of it is Manchester United and Erik ten Hag are coming out and fighting for their players. And if I'm Bruno Fernandes and I'm reading that my manager is coming out and has got my back like that, that's sort of something we haven't massively seen from Ten Hag. A sort of, after a win, an aggressive forefront, come out and get your players. Very, very, Sir Alex Ferguson used to do it all the time. So, yeah, really, really, really happy that Ten Hag's done that. But as I said, I'm not going to sit here and go, go on, Eric, Bruno, defend Bruno. I'd love to do that. I'm ready for that. And I think a lot of us are. We're ready to back him. But ultimately, I think that Bruno, this particular year, and I mean, how good was Bruno before sort of Christmas time? I don't really remember. But I do think that since Christmas, he's been really bad, like really bad, inexplicably bad. And I don't really understand why. A lot of people think it's being overplayed, but being overplayed doesn't excuse. Jacob likes Nonto from Leeds, and I hope we look at him in the summer. Okay. I'm sure we'll be looking at a lot of players in the summer. We'll talk about some transfer news in a moment. But I agree that Bruno's probably burnt out. But being burnt out doesn't mean that when you receive the ball on the edge of the box, like he did in the second half, you just mishit it back to the goalkeeper. He's been doing that for weeks. Being burnt out doesn't mean when you've got time on the ball and the ability to keep possession, you just do a crappy shot to the keeper from 35 yards that's never going to go in. The decision making isn't good. Where are you, Mark? I'm in the pub. I'm in the Goldbridge Arms. We're not open yet. But yeah, I think that. Yeah, I like that from the manager. I like the fact that he's come out. Interestingly as well, Wayne Rooney after the game, and I've got a lot of time for Rooney, obviously ex-United legend. As a pundit, look, I would rank my ex-Man... Here's one for you, get in the comments. My top 5 Manchester United pundits would be in at 5, it's slim pickings. I can't put Rio in there. I'll probably, Evra, when he's not being a prat, is actually quite good at talking about football. So I'll put Evra at 5. I think Owen Hargreaves probably is number 4. Bit boring, but actually quite, level-headed. Scholes I quite like at 3. Neville probably would be 2. But none of them are perfect. And number 1 for me is Roy Keane. Roy Keane's number 1. I know he comes out with bad takes, but he's just a legend. So I'd go with that there. But so Rooney at the moment, is he going to be a manager? Is he going to be a coach? Is he going to be a pundit? As a pundit, I think he's come out with some quite silly things, in the past about, I think Rooney speaks like he's got friendships. And that's something he needs to change if he's going to be a pundit, because, it comes across that Rooney's, his agency has got some Man United players and he always protects them. And what he said about Rashford last night, I don't agree with it. So basically what he said was Marcus Rashford is, something along the lines of Marcus Rashford doesn't look like he's playing well at the moment, and that's not Marcus. And the senior players around him need to get around him and get more out of him. And I thought, well, correct me if I'm wrong, he's 26, 27. I think he's 27 this year. He's the top paid player. This is what we've been talking about for weeks. He's not a kid anymore. He's not a kid anymore. He can't, you can't expect Varane and Casemiro and Bruno to nurture Marcus Rashford when they've got Garnacho, Mainu, Højlund, Forsen. There's younger players than Marcus Rashford that needs nurturing, and Marcus Rashford should not need taking a side at the moment. But what I thought was, he is a senior player, says Shane Smith, but what I thought was really interesting is that, in a sense, Wayne Rooney might not be wrong. He may have, we're all confused about the problem with Rashford, And we talk about it. I think it says on the thumbnail, bad to worse. That's multi-layered, by the way, bad to worse, because it's got a picture of Rashford and it's got a picture of Bruno. Obviously, we're talking about the criticism of the team. We win the game and there's a load of criticism. So things go from bad to worse. Rashford's individual performance goes from bad to worse. And also, there are more injury issues for the Man City game, which we'll talk in a moment. So the injury crisis goes from bad to worse. Man to worse. I don't know what I'm talking about men for. Anyway, we talk about the Rashford issue, and it is very, very confusing. And I don't really understand it. But Rooney said that Marcus Rashford is a quiet character, says James. And I think that we can criticise constructively what Rooney said. And Rooney said, basically, Rashford needs an arm round the shoulder from the senior pros. Now, the instant reaction is, my reaction and your reaction is going to be, what are we talking about here? Why does he need an arm round the shoulder from senior pros when he is a Manchester United player on 350k a week, who's been here for years, who's, written books, he's had awards, he's a massive, massive brand. Why does a player like that need an arm round his shoulder like he's 19 years of age? He doesn't. Forget about it. Get on that pitch, play well. You're meant to be a senior pro. You're meant to be helping the younger players. Not an excuse. Load of rubbish. And I get that reaction. But then I go, hold on a minute. What if Rooney has hit on something here, having spent time with Rashford, that none of us have ever figured out? What if Marcus Rashford is a player that needs an arm round his shoulder, is a quiet player? What if all the noise around Marcus Rashford isn't the reality? Because it wouldn't be the first time. What if Marcus Rashford's book deals, brand deals, bravado, brand is about the people around him? The agents, the agencies, the brands. Marcus, do this. Marcus, do that. What if he's a front? What if this just isn't him? What if he's just been exploited for the last 5 years? Rashford, do this. Rashford, do that. Smile at this. Answer it this way. What if, as a personality, he can't live up to what he has now become? What if he isn't a leader? What if he is somebody that needs nurturing? I think you have to look at it like that. And I think that maybe Rooney may have given a glimpse last night. He was ridiculed up widely by saying Rashford needs to be treated like a kid and he needs the senior players to help him. But I get what James is saying, and I get what a lot of you are saying. Well, that's not acceptable. He needs to do better, and he does. But it doesn't mean that there isn't in life always an explanation. And when I'm talking, Ziam says the Rashford project is dead. I'm going to go through some of your super chats in a minute. Chris says, so you're saying he's a fraud? No, I'm not, Chris. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in life, everything's not what it seems. And I feel that Rooney might have given us a little bit of a glimpse into the reality of Marcus Rashford, whereby there is all this bravado, there is all this noise, there is all this money, there is all this status. But actually, when you scratch the surface, there is a vulnerable, quiet person who is not capable of dealing with the status that he has. And why is that a bad take? And why is that a criticism? Like, what if he's had this thrust upon him willingly? No one's taken him kicking and screaming to sign 350k a week. Nobody's taken him kicking and screaming to get his award from the Queen or, his book deal. But what I'm saying is, has he been advised badly in relation to a footballer? Because look at Gaza. And Gaza, he couldn't deal with that. He was a footballer and he was thrust onto the world and he couldn't deal with it. Look at Maradona. Literally, look at him. He's behind my shoulder. He couldn't deal with the trappings of fame. Marcus Rashford is not doing coke and he's not an alcoholic. But there are different vices, and maybe he's struggling with the pressure and expectation. And also, one of the big things on a footballing level is maybe his ability doesn't match the hype. Neymar's ability doesn't match the hype. I'm sorry. I'm a big fan of Neymar, but there's two players behind me that are absolute goats of the game, and then there's Maradona. I said that wrong. I should have included myself. But that's hype. That's not hype. That's reality. That's reality. And when you've got, look, Neymar's a very, very good player, but they tried to put Neymar in the Messi category, in the Ronaldo category, and he was never that. Never that. Now, Marcus Rashford, if we're being completely honest, even based on last season when he was good and based on 3 years ago when he was good, where would you put Marcus Rashford as a Manchester United all-time great? Well, honestly, I could put Paul Scholes comfortably in the top 20. I mean, I'm doing it off the top of my head. He might even get in the top 10. Same for the likes of Beckham, and we've been blessed basically. But Rashford, I mean, Rashford's not in the top 10 players in the Premier League at the moment, and he's on 350k a week. Even at his best, he seems to be a light switch player, where when it's on, it's bright and everything's great, but it goes off too much. You know, PJ says he's not even a top 25 Premier League player. So I think, look, when we talk about Marcus Rashford, and I'm not here to start saying sell him. The fact that nobody really has said sell him in the chat, and the fact that nobody's saying I've had enough of the Trashford or horrible words like that, I'm actually very grateful that we're having a decent conversation on this, because I'm confused by it now. I mean, the performances. You know what? Last night I'm watching the game, and Alan Shearer's obviously saying what he's saying, and the chat's saying what you're saying, and I respect that. I don't disagree with the criticism and the frustration and the anger and the disappointment. It's absolutely nailed on correct. But personally, I've sort of moved past the whole drop him, sell him, it's a disgrace, he doesn't want to play for us, his attitude's wrong. I've moved into a state of confusion in relation to why is this happening? Because, you know, sometimes, you know, when Fellaini misses an open goal, I'll be there years ago. Sell him, rubbish. I've always told you he's rubbish. I've told you so. And it's not constructive now to say that with Rashford, because it's been going on for so long, and yet Ten Hag keeps picking him. And I think within the club, there's been conversations. Everybody puts this onto Ten Hag. There'll have been conversations in the club with Sir David Brailsford, Sir Alex Ferguson, Sir Jim Radcliffe, Ten Hag about Marcus Rashford. And the conversations will have gone like this. He's our biggest earner. He's arguably our most valuable player. We can't just throw him into the youth team. We can't just ignore him. If we're going to sell him in the summer, we've got to, you know, make him valuable. But also, we've got a major injury crisis. And this player, no matter how bad you think Marcus Rashford is, on a good day, he's capable of winning his games. And what are we struggling to do this season? Win games. So I understand why the pressure is, well, not the pressure. I understand why the decision making, and it won't just be Ten Hag, there will be other people involved, is to try and keep pushing Rashford. But I think it's a huge, huge problem. And I do think that if I had to predict what the problem is, I think Rooney might have just hit the nail on the head. I actually think you've got a player who doesn't match the hype. I think you've got a personality who doesn't match the bravado. I think we've got a very vulnerable and, you know, lacking confidence individual who is sinking under the pressure. And the problem is we can't do anything about that. We can be sympathetic to it, but we can't do anything about it. It's Manchester United. We can't suddenly go, as long as you go out there and try, it's fine. It's not fine. You know, I've just said the same about Bruno Fernandes. You know, just effort's not good enough. I thought Bruno played badly last night. I know he got the assist, but I thought he was bad by his own standard. And with Rashford, we can't just go, it's fine. We know you're struggling. It's fine. Just keep trying, because we're Manchester United. We've got Manchester Derby on Sunday, you know, and that leads us into another point as well. I'm going to get into your super chats in a minute because there's some good ones, but you know, it goes from bad to worse, because my big fear now is, I mean, I thought it was a penalty on Rashford, but when he went down, he was almost looking to the side. Like, I'm sure, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and if I've got it wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. But when he got sandwiched, he sort of looked to the bench as if he was going to come off. And obviously he didn't come off. But I was like, you know, there's players that get an impact and go, I need to come off. And there's players that get an impact and say, you'll have to drag me off. Yeah, I've got to pick your leg up first. Your legs come off. I don't care. I'm playing on. Stitch it on. Yeah, and that worried me, because obviously this game at the weekend is a massive opportunity for players to go, I don't fancy that. I don't fancy that. Now, Harry Maguire's not one of those players, because he missed last night, and he's not that sort of player. Scott McTominay's not that sort of player. I don't think Bruno Fernandes is 100% not that sort of player. But it's going to be very interesting when Eric Ten Hag speaks tomorrow, because I've been told this morning, and that's why we use bad to worse, and I've left it later for the hardcore. I don't know why. I've been told this morning that there's a couple of players that might be out for the match on Sunday that are already last night on the way home going, something's not right. So this is what I mean, and that's not going to help anybody. But as I said, look, if Rashford doesn't play on Sunday because he's got an injury, he's got an injury. But the way he's playing at the moment, the criticism he's getting, that'd be really bad if he misses the game on Sunday, because that's another spiral, isn't it? That's like, I think he's, you know what? Honestly, I think he's depressed. I think he's depressed and fed up and not happy. I think all the signs are there. I think he's a confidence player. I think when everything's going his way, he's absolutely fine. He's made some big mistakes on the pitch this year. When he scored against Spurs and he did the whole ear thing, it was badly received, apart from, whatever members of the Player FC group he's got on Twitter. It was badly received by the match-going fans, and he's just made a lot of bad decisions. And the funny thing is, when I was at Carrington a few weeks ago doing the Rasmus interview, obviously after Rasmus has gone, because Rasmus loves Rashford, and they look up to players like that and Harry Maguire, etc. But I was speaking to some people at Carrington afterwards, and I said, if there's one thing I would send to the club, because they're quite interested in fan opinion, because obviously those things are really important to them in relation to how the fans are thinking about things. And I said, if there's one thing I would feed back that I don't know whether you're aware or Rashford's camp are aware, but I'm aware about it on a daily basis. I like Rashford. I don't think we need to sell him. I want him to get back to good form. But the one thing I've noticed over the last 3, 4, 5 months is that match-going fans, Manchester fans, social media fans, generally Manchester United fans, are downing tools on Marcus Rashford. And, whether that's for his agents or his brand, or whether that's for the football club who pay him 350k a week, or whether that's for him himself, that's a fact. We've noticed, it's open season on a player when, Alan Shearer's doing it on national TV. A year ago, you'd never say anything about Rashford. If he mishits a shot, you'd go, to be fair, look at the grass, it's slippy, it bobbled. Not anymore. It's open season on him. And in a way, I think that's sad, because that's the way the British media works. We build somebody up and then we absolutely chop them down. But that's alarming for the whole team, Manchester United, Rashford, and the team around Rashford. He is not the player in the media, in the fan base, that he was. He's literally, I see it daily. I see it in the chat. I see it on social media. If I did a poll now, 80, 90% of you would sell him. He has lost that. Now, he can win it back by scoring goals, but the reality is he has lost that. And I don't think he's lost it because he went for a drink in Belfast. I don't think he's lost it because, he might go out on a Sunday night when, after a Manchester derby. I think he's lost it because his performance is on the pitch. And I think he can win it back. If he scored a hat-trick against Man City at the weekend and we win 3-0, boom, it's back. It's back. Let's have a look at some of these super chats, by the way, if I can figure out how to do them. Let me get this. There we go. Why is that not working? Oh, don't press that. That's really weird. I'm sure I've done this before. What's that do? There we go. I've played the game. Mark, this is his 4th manager. I'm done, says Carl Robinson. Accepting Fernandes and Rashford. Oh, here we go. We've got an Einstein here. Accepting Fernandes and Rashford is accepting mediocrity. We need our leaders performing week in, week out. They set the examples. That's from Epiphany. He's had an epiphany. He's not having a good, though. That's the problem, says Stephen Willocks. We need to sell Fernandes, says Epiphany. That's his second one. Manchester United comes first. Sell him, says Kyle. Rooney and you, Mark, may have hit on something with Rashford. The world has natural introverts that are brilliant but not good at the spotlight. I know, as I'm one myself, says Martin. Sign him up. Any plans to have watch-alongs in the Goldbridge Arms? If you can't watch games in the pub, bring the pub to you, says Glennie. Good idea. And the Rash project is dead, and the club needs to realise this, says Zenon. The idea of him becoming an all-time club legend will not happen. We need to move on. It's time to go for Rashi, says Kia. Needs to man up. He's 27 this year on 350k a week. Grow up at Rashi, act like a man, and stop being a child. And be consistent for once, says Kia. I think Amrabat could replace Bruno, says Keel. And Jacob likes Nonto. Getting battered on Sunday, says Manchester City fan for life. Mate, you know what? You know what you're like? You know what you scummy, twatty Man City fans like? You're like, you're driving along in your Porsche that's not even really, you've nicked it. You've done some sort of fraud. You're driving along in your Porsche. You see a rabbit that's been run over. You pull over and stamp on it. It's already dead, mate. It's already dead. I've had enough of these wetties like Rashford, thieving a living, says Kia. Flaps for 350k. Ineos have got their hands full this summer, says Kia. I heard, I mean, it's a blast from the past, but I heard somebody calling, it made me laugh. You're not going to get it. No one's going to get it. But I wish, somebody said, I wish Orville had fuck off on the live chat last night. Now, you've got to be a bit older to know what this means, but Orville used to be well, he's not dead because he wasn't real. He was a Muppet. He was a little green duck, and he used to be on children's TV in the late 80s. And he used to go, I wish I could fly right up to the sky, but I can't. You can, I can't. And he used to flap, and he could never fly. So somebody said, somebody last night on the watch along said, I wish Orville had fuck off, and it made me laugh because I thought, well, that's very of my time. Yeah. But look, on a more positive note, please smash a like on the video. Let's see. Look, I don't normally get to do the morning show away from my normal setup, so we're in the pub. So give us a like. We need 1,000 likes on this. I do want to talk on more positive nature. I mean, get your questions in. I mean, realistically, I'm over the moon with the result last night. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. We do need Rasmus back, Pokey. This is my pub, yes. And yeah, we do need Rashford back. Sorry, we do need Rasmus back. God, that was a slip of the tongue. Sean Dykes, own you, says man. And but last night was so important. It's funny, I had a Liverpool fan messaging me last night saying, oh, interesting game in the quarterfinals. And I said, you'll win. I'm not a bloody idiot. She'll win. They'll win. Liverpool will beat us and Man City will beat us. And, you know, if the jinx works, happy days. But Liverpool are incredible this season and Man City are the best team in the world. And we are probably as bad as we were. I mean, where would you rank this United side in the last 10 years? It's not the best. And I think a lot of that has got to do with the whole the injuries, the whole thing that's going on. But I would rather play Liverpool in the quarterfinals in 3 weeks' time and lose than have gotten beaten last night. And this is where the negative movement sort of outdoes itself, because you beat Forest and then everyone's going, we're going to get beat by Liverpool anyway. And I'm like, well, that could happen even if we're really good. Even United in their best incarnation at the moment could lose to this Liverpool side. We've got a game at Old Trafford. We've got a chance. I think Rasmus will be back. And I was really, really happy with the result last night. We had, look, you always feel different the morning after the night before. God, have I felt bad the night after, you know, the mistakes I've made. You know, it didn't look like that on the tin. It wasn't Ron Seal. You know, you wake up the next morning, you're like, oh my God, what a mistake. But if you know, you know. But the reality is, we've all made those mistakes. But last night, you know, sometimes you see a result for Manchester United, and you think that it's going to be, you might overhype it, you might not. And I think that with United last night, waking up this morning, I'm rather happy with the performance, to be honest with you. I think we had the better chances, coming off a Fulham result that was just absolutely abysmal. I thought it was a good result. I'm sort of stuttering on the words here. I'm trying to think of what I really want to say. I think that if you'd offered me that result any time before kickoff, I'd have been all over it. You know, to create 4 or 5 big chances, and you know, I know it was 1-0 and I know it was late on, but to create 4 or 5 big chances and win the game is good enough for me. And at this stage, it really is about winning games for Manchester United. And Look, look, we're going to start moving on to. I preferred Cuddles the monkey, says Sam. He was funny actually, but I think we're going to start moving on to the Manchester derby now. I think the big problem with the Manchester derby is going to be who's fit and who's not. I think the problem with the Manchester derby is it's at the Etihad, and I think the problem with Manchester derby is that Manchester City are just way better than us at the moment. I think that the way to approach that game is not how we approached Fulham. It's not how we approached Man City. We need to be compact and counter-attacking, and we need to defend remarkably well, and we need to not concede in the first 20 minutes, because as soon as you concede against Man City at the Etihad, it's game over and it's demoralising. I think the big thing I would take out of this game, I think it's a free hit. Look, the reality is nobody, park the bus as Isaac, nobody's going to Man City as favourites at the moment, unless you're Arsenal in early April, and I don't think they won't be favourites either. I mean, that's the reality bite. Even if Arsenal or Liverpool go to Man City, they're not favourites. So what chance have we got? We've got to go there and fight, and that's a word that I think some players did go and fight last night, but I don't really think that we can go there and expect anything. If we got a point, it'd be a great point. If we won, it would be absolutely amazing. But I think the thing I don't want to see is I don't want to see us capitulate. I don't want us to go to I don't want us to go to the Etihad and capitulate and get beat 4 or 5 or 6 or 7-0. I think that would be the devastating thing for me. I don't want to see that, because that's just, there's losing, and I think we all expect to lose, and there's getting battered. And when you lose 4, 5, 6-0, it just allows the headlines again to say, look at the tactics, look at the way they fell apart, look at the mentality. This happened at Anfield last year. And that's my big fear going into this game, is that, you know, it's about how we lose, because I think we will. Kurt says that Malacia could be pregnant. I tell you what, it'd have been back fit quicker if he had a bloody baby. I mean, what's that, 9 months? No, to be fair, he'd still be out. They can't do any heavy lifting for a few weeks, and could be breastfeeding as well, which would be awkward if the baby was hungry at in the first half an hour of the game. What are we talking about? Why are we going there? Because we're diverse, and pregnancy is why we're all here. Mark, I'm sorry, but he's had his chance. Rashford, unfortunately, is not consistent. Can't win anything serious with him in the team. It's time to go, says Goldio. Sam Bronx, thank you very much, done that one. Udit says, Rooney played better at 30s than Rashford is at 26. Why not be Rashford out, considering you were Rooney out with same wages? Don't take it personal, says Udit. You know what? You make a very good point, which is a first for you. I actually wouldn't be, when it comes to Rashford, the obvious solution is to sell him. Obviously it is. I don't think anybody can deny that. But we are at the end of February. We've still got to get to the end of May. And you can't just chuck him in the youth. He's got to be involved. Ten Hag's had 6 wins in 7, Mark, says Brendan. I know, absolutely fantastic. Kurt says he's joking about Malacia. He doesn't know whether he is pregnant, really. Yeah, we know. We understand sarcasm in the UK. You're on safe ground. But look, yeah, obviously, if this was the end of the May, I would say quite comfortably sell Marcus Rashford. But it's not the end of May. It's the end of February. There's 3 months to go. We've got an injury crisis. And I think we've just got to remain confused about it, I suppose. Look, thanks everyone for watching. There's not loads to talk about this morning other than what I've spoken about already. So I'm not going to waste all your time going into depth about stuff that, me, it's a news show. I think we've spoken about the 2 main bits of news. One thing I'm disappointed about is we've not hit 1,000 likes, even though there's 8,000 of you, and I have shown you around the Goldbridge Arms. So, where's the love for that? Have a look. There it is. Might pour myself a pint. It's too early for a pint, but as you can see, we're all set up here. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care, and I'll speak to you later on. We've got a 2 o'clock show, and we've got a big show tonight at 8 o'clock. We've got Ricky on. It's a forum. We've got a Man City fan on. First time we've done this. So a big Manchester derby forum tonight, live on the United Stand at 8 o'clock. Don't be missing that. It's going to be great, and I'm looking forward to it. Speak to you all in a bit. Take care.